He's gonna get. He's gonna fight me. He's a big Viking. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking. I want to talk to you about this game. It's called Alwaysgreen Garden. Alwaysgreen Garden is a game for 2 to 4 people, and this is going to be funny. I know that if you've watched my videos before, I've said I hate garden games, but garden games is the description I give for a certain type of game, so just bear with me, and maybe I'll touch on that in my final thoughts, but whatever. So this is called Alwaysgreen Garden, and this is for 2 to 4 people, and these are people that are going to be going around and collecting different resources from different gardens, and then using those to complete recipes for these cute little woodland creatures that you can see on the front cover here. Now this is not a kid's game. I mean, let me back up from that. My kids played this game and had a lot of fun with it, but this is a game that I played with my with my gaming group, and we all really enjoyed this. We enjoyed the very good, straightforward rule set and the fun completing of your turn, if you will, like figuring out exactly what you're going to do in your turn and how you're going to do it. We really enjoyed the puzzle that each turn kind of presented to us each time we played. So don't let this art fool you. Don't see this and say, oh look, it's a little like a kiddie game that like shoots and ladders. So it is not. It is not at all. Now it isn't. It is one of these things where it's like. Like I said, my kids, my son is 7, my daughter is almost 12 years old. They both played this and had a lot of fun. My son needed a little bit of help, so like my wife played with him, and they worked together as a team to be that particular for that player. But I mean, he had a lot of fun like figuring it out. But I'll talk about that and a whole lot more after I show you how Alwaysgreen Garden is played. All right, here we go. Alright, so this is Alwaysgreen Garden. I'm going to show you how this game is played. Just keep in mind this is a prototype that I was sent, so the stuff that you see in front of you might not be indicative of the final published version. I do know for a fact, though, that the designer is also like the artist, so I'm pretty sure the art's going to stay exactly the same. Alright, so this game is a game in which you are a dauber, and that dauber is trying to create recipes. And once they create 4 recipes, or once one player creates 4 recipes, that will trigger the end game. So like you have to be pretty picky with your recipes. You want to make sure that you're picking ones that earn you a lot of points, and also like you want to make sure that you don't lag behind. Like if you're taking all really like recipes that are going to take you a long time to make, somebody might be able to make some really quick recipes and rush the game towards its end. Once somebody has created a 4th recipe, each person will get 2 more turns, and then that will trigger the end of the game. Alright, so each person's going to have this little kitchen area. I have just kind of set this game up like it's in flow right now, so just keep that in mind. This isn't like the starting setup, if you will. The kitchen that you have has 10 different spots, 10 different baskets that you have that you can keep ingredients. Once your kitchen is full, you can't create anything, you can't add any more to your kitchen until you somehow get rid of those ingredients. You can there's some actions that you can do that will return some back to the garden here, but for the most part, the easiest, best way to return those ingredients is to use them in recipes. Each person's going to start with 3 recipes. As you complete these, you will get new ones at the end of your turn. You can also collect them by drawing cards by taking certain actions. You will also get technique cards. Technique cards are these cards right here, and you start with 3 of these. I'll talk more about these in a little bit, but technique cards mostly are going to be used for breaking the rules in some way or enhancing a recipe that you've already created that will then allow you to score more points with it. Each person will get 2 of these menu cards. These are just ways that you're going to use to establish getting more points in the game, some end game scoring conditions. You're going to be dealt 2, and then you're going to pick one of these to keep. So like this one will earn me extra points for pies and for like sets of recipes like that. And so then you have the cornucopia, where like this one has the thing where it's like +2 points if you were the person to trigger the end of the game. So you pick one of those and you go ahead and put it down in front of you. That remains secret. Now notice how the recipes are open knowledge. You always know what recipes people have. I should mention too, there are tons of these menu cards. So you're only going to use one per player per game. So there's definitely lots of variability and playability with all of those different options that you have. All right, so on your turn, what you're going to be doing is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to roll garden dice. Now, if you have a completed recipe, you'll notice that like recipes like artichoke pie, the portobello fettuccine, my hot walnut chicory, they all have like both the animal, like here we have this badger, this owl, this squirrel. They also have like these locations. Here's the grains and nuts, there's the fungus, and there's the vegetables. There's also a fruit in here, some here. I'll find one here in a little bit. But those match up with these different areas of the Alwaysgreen garden. If you have completed one of those recipes, you are allowed to replace one of these 2 dice with one of those dice. So if I had completed my chicory, I could replace one of those 2 dice with this upgradable die. These dice have, like, basically they're better. See, the big thing is that like a lot of these dice, these white dice, they have these little clouds here. And if you roll a cloud, that means it's a cloudy day. And unfortunately, the garden does not grow anything on that particular day. But you'll notice that like on this yellow die, if you can actually see all the different sides, and these are just very indicative of all of these, they don't have that cloudy day. Plus they have suns on them, and suns are wild, and so like if you roll wild, you're able to pick whatever you like. So those are definitely upgradable dice, and you want to use them. Big thing though, you can only use 2 dice. Just because you complete a menu recipe does not mean you get to like take a 3rd die to roll. You're going to only roll 2 dice unless you have something that breaks the rules, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit as well. All right, so the way this game's going to work is the first thing, as I said, you're going to roll these 2 dice. Let's see what I get here. Let's see. Oh, look at that! I got a cloud and 2 wood. That's that. So wood is kind of an interesting ingredient. There is 1 spot for wood in each of these locations, so you can take these and you can put them wherever. You can't place them in a spot that already has been taken, and that goes without saying that like if I had rolled a bunch of fungus, I wouldn't be able to add fungus to the fungus garden if there wasn't any spot for it. And so just keep that in mind. But whatever will make this turn work. All right, so after you roll those dice, now you're going to be taking your dauber actions. Now, I want to just take a moment to say that there are like player aids in this game that are great, that will actually show your player actions and all of the different options you have with your player actions right there. They also have like you're going to be using gardener, like the 4 gardeners. You're going to be using their abilities, and they also give you a great player aid with those on there as well. I love games and I love designers that take the extra time to create things like that that'll get people's noses out of rule books and allow them to just enjoy the game and have the information right there in front of them when they're going to be figuring out what they're going to be doing as they play. So kudos to the designer for that. All right, but when you do your dauber actions, one thing, all of these actions are like they aren't mandatory. The only one that is mandatory is that you have to move your dauber, meaning that because there's only 2 spots on each part of the garden. So when you have to move to like open up, and if you want to, like if I was this kid and I wanted to move into the spot with the fruit, but those 2 daubers were there, unfortunately I can't move to that location because I'm being blocked, and so I have to wait for them to move away from it. Now that can lend itself to some timing situations where like unfortunately, like you aren't able to get there, like because of the fact that it just seems like it's always being blocked up. But that's a very viable strategy that players can use against you, and it's up to you to adapt and say, well, you know what? If I can't get into the fruit spot, then I'm just not going to make any fruit-based recipes, and I'm just going to move on. I'm going to do other things. So that's something you're going to do. I should actually show you a couple recipes really quick. So like the recipes themselves just list right there what the ingredients you need. You can see this one needs 3 vegetables and 2 grain and nuts. It'll be worth 3 points if you complete it. This is like the portobello fettuccine. You can see it takes a lot more, but it's worth like 7 points if you finish it. So just and these there's a big giant deck of these as well. And so there's lots of different options. Remember, those are open knowledge throughout the game. All right, so you have to move, but you don't have to move right away. You could harvest the stuff from the spot you're in and then move to another spot. You could use all these tools and then move. You could work with a gardener and then move. All these options, as far as your actions go, They can be done in any order you want, but remember, you have to move. You absolutely positively have to move your daughter. All right, so the way the game will work then is that you'll take these actions, and you're trying, obviously, to get enough ingredients that would allow you to, complete a recipe. So let's actually just cheat here really quick. Let's give me a mushroom, and let's give me a vegetable, meaning that I need, and let's move back to where I was, I need 2 grain to be able to finish my hot walnut chicory. So if I take an action and I move here, I can take a harvest action like so, and I can collect those 2 particular ingredients, and now I'm going to have enough to complete it. Now, as luck would have it, the gardener that actually wants that particular recipe is in that spot. Now, if this gardener was over here instead, I wouldn't be able to complete that particular recipe until I was on the same spot as that squirrel. I have to try to make sure that I am in that location. However, there are different ways that you can actually move again and whatever, like by using all these tools. But I'll touch on that here in just a moment, and let's just return these to their locations like so. All right, so now I have a spot where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to then use that gardener. Now, the gardener actions, 2 things you can do with gardeners: either you can turn on a recipe or you can use a gardener action. You can't do both. So in this situation, if I'm going to turn it in, I'm going to take these 3 grain of nuts, I'm going to take this mushroom and this veggie, and I'm going to turn in this hot walnut chicory, and that'll be a completed recipe, and I'll put it over to the side like so. At the end of my turn, after I'm all done, I'm going to be able to replace that recipe with a card from the top of the deck, and I'll be able to put it in there. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, the abilities of the gardeners are are varied, and then when you do the action of a gardener, you actually move the gardener to that spot. So, if I wanted to use Ruthie the Badger, they allow you to draw up to 3 recipe cards and discard up to 3. So, if I wanted to take that action, I would go ahead and move Ruthie the Badger to my spot and then replace it in the other location. Clover, the turtle, who likes fruit, you get to add 2 different ingredients to any garden tile. So that would be an action, maybe you do that before you do anything. So, once again, the puzzly nature of these turns is really, really cool. So remember how this worked, however, the spot I was in, and let's go ahead and maybe do this like that, whatever. And or actually here, let's really cheat and make it kind of neat. If that was how it started off, and I needed if I wanted to add, and remember there was 2 of these in that location, but I was so I wanted to use Clover, add 2 different ingredients to any to any garden tiles. What I could do then is I could say, oh, well, I'm going to add another one there, and maybe just add this green one over here for whatever reason. But I've used Clover the turtle, so I would then move Clover the turtle to that spot, and then I would move the squirrel over to the grains and nuts, and now I've got those over there, and then I would have moved over there, and I would have collected those grains and nuts, and because I'd had the forethought to do so of moving the squirrel to that spot, then I would then be able to turn in that recipe. See, that's this puzzly nature. That's the most fun part about this game, and I'll talk a lot about that in my final thoughts, but it's the way of using all of these different powers and abilities to do that. So the squirrel's special ability is you take 1 ingredient from adjacent garden and or return 1 ingredient from your kitchen to the board. Now, when you do that, that's a way to get rid of ingredients out of your kitchen if you're all gummed up, but obviously it's really inefficient, and it will take a long time. If you had to clean out your kitchen because you couldn't create the recipes, that would be a really tough way to do it. And finally, Ursula Owl, you can draw up to 3 upgrade and action cards and or discard up to 3 of those cards and take 1 ingredient from another player. So the owl is kind of a jerk because you get to take an ingredient from somebody, but it's also a way for you to exchange cards in and out of your hand, which is, and those are these enhancement cards that we were talking about. All right, so now, let me talk about the enhancement cards really quickly, just so I can kind of show some to you. Some of them will be like this, where it'll be like if you use 2 wood, you then would turn your thing into a drink, and then you get extra victory points for it. These are like the berry bun, and these are just upgrades to existing recipes that you finished. And since I'm grabbing these, I might as well just grab some of these and show them. Some of them will be like this Flavor Magic trade any 2 ingredients for another 2 ingredients. This was like you get to put the garden dice onto whatever side you want when you roll them. And let me just grab, I wanted to show you, like, here's, like, I like the chipmunks allow you to like trade, wood and, or, like, or get an ingredient to get 2 wood. So, like, you can trade with the chipmunks. And these are just, like, again, cards that break the rules in some way. All right, so the other thing you can do is use Ollie, the elephant, and use his tools. Now, to use his tools, you have to use a wood. You have to have wood to use his tools. That is why they have this wood cube on the top of those tools. When you use the wood, now use the tool. I'll show you what each of these does. You then flip it over to the other side, exposing the different tool available on the other side of that particular tile. So you're actually like either taking away a tool that somebody might really want to use, or you're offering up a tool that somebody might want to use. So it's careful planning. You might want to think about before you do this, but a lot of times it's just like you have to do it because it's what you need. So this particular tool allows you to move the gardeners clockwise, around. So like this one would move here, this one would move here, this one would move here, and this one would move here. That's another way. You're figuring out the puzzle, if you will. The opposite side of this allows you just to take and use another gardener action. So like that's a way you can break the rules to use the actions. This one allows you to roll the dice again. Now that isn't like re-rolling the dice. That is like you roll the dice, you add the ingredients, and then you can roll the dice again and add ingredients. And you can, if you've upgraded to the upgraded dice, you can use those in that situation. The other side of this, for every recipe that you have that is for the owl or for the clover, the turtle, you can just grab free ingredients out of the supply. This one allows you to move your gardener again. So like obviously, like if you move to a spot, you harvested, and then there was an open spot next to a gardener that had they had for a completed recipe that you have, you could then move again to that spot. Another way to kind of figure out the puzzle of the turn. And this one is the exact same as this, except for it's going to be for the squirrel and it's going to be for the badger. This last one allows you to draw 2 cards and discard up to 2 cards. Pretty straightforward. And on the other side, it really upgrades it. You get to draw 4 cards and discard up to 4 cards. There is a hand limit of 6 cards, and obviously you can only have these 3 recipes available. So just keep that in mind as the game progresses. So after you get done with your turn, I would draw another recipe, and I would go ahead and place that on there. And I would see, here's a pretty quick one. It's only going to take 1 fruit and 2 grains to finish, but it would be 2 points, and it would be considered to be a pie. And I think, yeah, that would be great for me because I notice how like I get bonus points for pies. So if I can just go ahead and make those pies, and like remember I have this upgrade card that allows me to turn a particular recipe into a pie. So like probably a goal I'd have would be to make this portobello fettuccine and somehow turn that into a pie. So yeah, I'd be able to compound those extra points, if you will. So as I said, the game is going to continue until one person has completed 4 recipes. Once one person has 4 recipes done, then everybody gets 2 more turns to try to cash in as many points as they possibly can in that short period of time. Then you're just going to total up your points that you're going to be gaining for all your endgame scoring and also the completed recipes that you've done, and whoever has the most points is going to win Alwaysgreen Garden. This is an extremely clever, very, very simple to teach game that allows me to feel smart on my turns and allows me to like just figure out that like kind of story problem of how am I going to get this, that, and this that's going to allow me to go ahead and get those points. And these are the types of games that I really, really enjoy. But let me talk about all of that and more in my final thoughts. Okay, so there we go. Alwaysgreen Garden. All right, so I was all over the place a little bit with like in my introduction, so I do apologize for that. But this is one of those games that I just like. I always have fun playing games like this. I mean, it has a few things going for it that I really, really like. Very, very straightforward rule set. Go here, collect that, turn it into this. And there's nothing wrong with those types of games as long as they present that type of game is presented to me in a way where I get to feel smart and I get to feel like I've accomplished something when I get a turn done. And so I've always enjoyed games where I'm collecting resources and I'm like building and I'm building and I'm building, and then you get that big cash in, you know, where then give me those points, and then now my next turn, okay, and I'm building and I'm building and I'm building, and then cash in those points. Yeah, I always kind of liked that ebb and flow of games, and Alwaysgreen Garden does that. Now, as I said repeatedly over and over again, the puzzly nature of each turn is really, really fun. And it is one of those things where as you're like thinking about, it's like, okay, I really need to go ahead and I need to click those veggies, but I also need to try to make sure that the owl is in the same spot that I am so that I can turn in this giant portobello thing that I've been creating. And how am I going to make that happen? Do I have a wood that I can use all these tools? Do I have a card in my hand that will allow me to collect a resource from a spot that I'm not on? Different things like that. And when you can like find the pieces to that puzzle and you kind of slap them all together and then they work, that's when you know, like, and then you have that like aha moment on your turn. You realize that you can pull that off. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy those moments when I play games, and I found myself like repeatedly having that happen every single time I played Alwaysgreen Garden. And as I said, the artwork is people are gonna see it and they're going to say, oh, you know, this maybe is like a lighter game, it's a more simple game. And, you know, I would say that, you know, maybe it is a little bit lighter, but it is one of those games kind of like Pillars of the Earth light, if that's even something that you recognize. This is a type of game that, like, instead of having to have somebody's nose buried in a rule book somewhere trying to figure out what you do on Act 3, you know, Round 3, Phase 2 of Action 7, you know, like, and you're trying to, like, hammer out your turn in some way, this is a situation where every single person's going to know what they're going to be able to do. They know how their actions go, and they're just you know, thinking it out, processing it, trying to make it like make sense when it gets to their turn. It has a fun little random element of the resources that you're rolling the dice for and like putting onto that board. It has the like, and like that's one of those things too. It's like, oh, I really want to use like Ollie's tool that will allow me to draw cards this turn, but you roll the dice and the dice don't come up the way you want. And it's like, I gotta use Ollie's tool to roll the dice again so I can get different things, you know. So I mean, there's stuff like that where you have to be malleable in your strategy on your particular turn. And again, when like those things like, oh, I have enough versatility on this particular turn that I can do those, and that makes the game fun. It makes the game alive, and it makes the game dynamic and interesting. And also when you have turns like that where you know that people are going to be taking actions and doing things that are going to like affect what is available for you in your particular turn, they're going to affect what you're going to, what your options are, you have to kind of pay attention, because the idea that you had that you were going to be able to do like, you know, 5 minutes ago, because of the actions of the two people in front of you, have totally messed that up, and now you have to like be thinking on your feet. So on your turn you have different things and different options that you can do. So and plus I found that when we in our plays of the game, everybody's points were really, really close to each other, like right neck and neck, which then allows the end game scoring itself to be that much better, because of the fact that like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, did I get like the right recipes? I'm going to have the good end game scoring in this particular spot? Am I going to be able to like, did I do a better job at getting those end game scoring points than the other players? So I can then you leap to victory over, like, they might have had like more points to begin with, but I'm going to get like more hidden points, and I'm going to be able to, you know, claim victory at the very end. So Alwaysgreen Garden, it's super fun, it's super cool. I would strongly suggest, if you enjoy this like medium dipping its toes into light, but I mean, once again, like I said, it's like, it's not light bad. It's not like light like, this is like a waste of my time light. This is like that like light game where you can pay attention to the game, you're talking to the people, you're having fun, you don't have to, like I said, pick up the rule book and read about how to do your turn. This is something where the turns are quick and fast, and like everybody is involved the entire time. If you like that type of medium, like on the lighter side of medium, and you like creating things, if you like creating resources and creating and figuring out a puzzle each and every one of your turns, then I strongly suggest you check this out. It's got fantastic art, and the gameplay is extremely solid, and it is just a heck of a lot of fun for both families and gaming groups. And who doesn't need more games like that on their game shelf? But anyway, there you go. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Just remember, be the best version of you that you possibly can be, concentrating on trying to be awesome and concentrating on inspiring other people to be awesome as well. And don't forget, you are awesome. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking. You take it easy.